Good morning, everyone. Welcome to NRI Wealth Builders. Here with me are Shri and Sridhar. And before we get into it, just a quick disclaimer. Everything we discuss on this podcast is based on our own experiences, opinions, research, and conversations. We're not financial advisors, tax professionals, or legal experts, and nothing in this podcast should be taken as professional, financial, legal, or investment advice. Always do your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any major financial decisions.
Okay, well, I hope you both are doing good today, and I hope your weather is good. We've had really good weather all week, but now I woke up and it's very cloudy, so very unfortunate. Um, but I'd like to take a second to recap our last episode so our viewers are a little bit filled in with everything. The topic was what is more important than money? And we came to the conclusion that money is a tool and that there are a lot of things that often get overlooked in personal finance, and money isn't the only measure of success. So check out our last episode, and we're really excited to get started with our icebreaker for today's episode. How many credit cards do you have? We can start with Nishi if you'd like to answer that.
Sure. Well, I have 5 credit cards. I don't know what the average number is. I don't know if that is a little bit too much, but I will say I do have order of preference for them. Some I have, but I don't really touch, and some I definitely use a little too often. Um,
Yeah, I have plenty. I cannot even remember. All right. But I think it's around 20 credit cards. But I use maybe 7 of them.
Mhm.
But actually, practically, I use maybe four. Um, Couple for personal, couple for business, because sometimes, American Express is not accepted. So I have Visa,
Mhm.
MasterCard. So I have one of each. So just in case. But I do have a lot of credit cards. But one good thing I do is I don't carry any debt in credit card. So I
Mhm.
pay off credit card as much as possible. And very rarely I carry debt because I forgot something. But I make sure I pay off the debt. So I get a lot of points and a lot of things I do with credit cards. So it's not such a bad thing if you're able to control it. At some point, I was like not able to control my credit card debt, but now, I'm very much on top of it.
Mhm. Yeah, I have
What
one.
about you? Hmm.
Because
You have one?
yeah, I've just one. I started out
Okay,
with the Student Discover card like a few
right,
years ago. But before that, actually, interestingly enough, my dad set me up with an add on card on his
right,
name. So then I could
right.
start building credit at the age of like 15, 16, which
It's
is
awesome.
an incredible thing that people have access to these days. I think the one credit card is enough for me for now. I tend to get stressed out just with that. So I think it's interesting. It's a fun thing, but I typically go for my debit card, which is not good. Which is not good, but what can we do? Okay,
Actually,
well, thank
I think
yeah.
that's a great practice to,
Mhm.
not build a credit card debt, and you're financially responsible. Forget about the points and all that, right?
Mhm.
For me, it is important. That's a great tactic because if you are impulsive buyer,
Mhm.
right, it helps you a lot if you pay your things using a debit card or even cash,
Mhm.
right? So there is a limit. When you are buying things with credit card, you don't feel the pain.
Right.
You only feel the pain when you actually pay the bill, right?
Mhm.
um,
So that's why I think using credit card is dangerous for people like me. But if you are somebody who can manage a credit card, who can pay it off quickly, and it's not a bad thing.
Mhm.
yeah, I think starting off with a debit card is a great idea because you are learning to only spend what you have.
Mhm.
And then once you get credit cards, hopefully that lesson transfers there too.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Definitely. Okay, well, thank you, Nishi, for introducing today's episode. Um, the way we're going to be chatting about this is in Mythbusters. So, basically, as you guys could probably tell, we're talking about debt today. So, we'll start off with segment one being why does debt feel so emotional? And the myth that's specifically here is that debt is always dangerous. I'd love to hear both of your opinions on this topic. Whatever.
Yeah, I can start,
Okay.
Mm,
right? Culturally, from with the Indian origin, we are always taught like no, don't have any debt, right? It's such a great feeling not to have any debt. And I think once you come to US, you pile on debt like it's nobody's business, right? So debt is something which is culturally considered as not desirable, but after coming to US, you kind of get used to it. I think both are bad. I think in my view, there is a good debt and bad debt, and depending on the situation, that can be a good useful tool if you're careful and
Mm-hmm.
but
mhm.
you have to know when that is useful. But in general, you should avoid all kind of debt, but there are cases where you can see that that can be very useful.
Mm-hmm.
What do you
Yeah.
think,
Um,
Nisi?
Yeah, I would say my thoughts are more so like I think what scares people isn't actually the debt itself. It's more like the
Mhm.
feeling that they're not in control of it. So
Exactly.
like it's more so the uncertainty. I think the uncertainty causes more stress than like the actual number itself. Because someone that has like a $300,000 mortgage with a stable income probably isn't too worried, but if they even have like $50,000 debt, but they don't have a job, they're probably a lot more stressed about making the next month's payment. So yeah, I think it's more so the uncertainty of it all. At least that's what fears me. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's just the fact that there could be piles of debt just like floating in the universe, and lots of people don't know how much it
Hmm.
is. And I think that's what tends to stress me out too, even though I don't have debt, which is
Yeah.
just funny. But so I think the reality we see is that debt itself isn't dangerous, like the concept of it, but not managing it and having unmanaged debt is and
Hmm.
could be potentially dangerous for like your credit score and like future opportunities too, getting loans and everything. Like it's a big concept that people don't seem to understand sometimes. Um, so yeah, I think we just busted myth
Okay.
one.
Yeah, I
um,
think I think I think the busting part of myth one is all that is not bad, right?
mhm, yeah,
Correct. Okay, go ahead.
definitely.
Yeah,
And so moving on to segment two, we can start talking about what good debt is. I know we talked about that a little bit in the last segment, but the myth here is that good debt doesn't even exist. I'd love to hear opinions on this or any questions you guys pose as well.
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess my question would be what I consider good debt is, and please confirm this, is mortgage and student loans are considered good debt, right? Because you're building towards your
Hmm.
own future. Would you guys
Yeah,
disagree?
yeah, I agree with that.
I don't agree with that exactly because
Hmm.
in that sense, all debt is bad. If you are taking
Yes.
debt, mortgage, so let's take an example of student loan, right?
Mhm.
You are investing on your future. So in that way, that is good, right? And it's a debt. And the more you accumulate it, the more interest you are ending up. Some people have student debts when until they're 40, 45, right? It's going to, so you, again, if it is investing, if you're investing on a student loan to get a degree, to get a good job and all that, that makes sense. But you still have to pay off the debt. If you're not paying off, it's going to bite you back.
Mhm.
Same with mortgage, right?
Hmm.
You have a mortgage and you are able to pay the mortgage because you have a job and everything is hunky dory. What if you lose a job,
Hmm.
right? That becomes a burden. If you are renting,
Mhm.
you just, you probably break a lease and pay the fees and get off. But if you are a mortgage and you lose a job, it's a bit tough situation. But mortgage is important as long as you are able to build wealth, right?
Hmm.
You're able to you're stable in your job and you take the mortgage but mortgage is also bad in cases where you try to buy a bigger house than what you need. Why do you
Yeah.
need such a big house? And then let's say your income situation becomes bad because of a layoff or everything, then that is also bad. So in general, I think all these situations are bad. But let me ask you this question. You have a $1 million mortgage and you have a $1 million cash and the interest rate is 3%. Do do you think that is a bad debt or a good debt?
I feel like 3% isn't that bad. So
Yeah.
I feel like that would be good debt. Do I have income though? Like, am I
Pardon?
confirmed? Do I have an income? Like, if I
I'm not,
know that I'll get a.
that's
Okay, that's
immaterial,
another
right?
step. Okay.
Income is immaterial,
Yeah.
right? But you have a $1 million cash, $1 million debt, and the interest rate is 3% or 4%, let's say. Is that a good debt? Free?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Hmm.
There are other opportunities out there for
Hmm.
us to not max out our mortgage payments and see growth in like different vehicles, like in the stock market when you can get a higher return on your money. So, in like financial planning too, will a lot of people will be like, we just want to get rid of student loans or we just want to get rid of all the debt, but that's honestly not the case, especially if you are, for example, if you are 25 years old and you have like 200K of student debt and you just want to funnel all of your money to pay towards that. Sure, you've paid it now in 5, 10 years, but you don't have any money. You haven't accumulated anything else on the back end, so you
Mhm.
genuinely like there, that's a lost opportunity. So I think it needs to be split up into different vehicles, so you can, it's called home run money. The home run money is like what money is working for you, and then the rest of it's just paying off debt or like safe money, right?
Mhm.
So I would say yes, long-winded, but that's a good debt. 3% is what I would say.
Yeah, I think it again depends on risk tolerance, a lot of
Right.
other things, right? If you are a person who is not able to sleep because of your debt, then it's better off paying it, even if you have the money, even if it is better in the stock market. But mathematically, you should know a couple of things. One is that mathematically, you you see that when you take debt, you are buying an asset, right?
Mhm.
As time increases, the asset value remains same. Sorry, the debt value remains same, but the
Mhm.
asset will keep growing. The
Right.
value of the debt remains same. So you are shorting against your dollar. Let me ask another question, right?
Mhm.
So let's say you have a $1 million debt, same scenario, and $1 million cash, and the interest rate is now 7% instead of 3%. What would you do?
Mhm. I would probably just work to pay that off quicker because
Exactly,
it's just a higher
right?
rate.
So it's not only higher rate, it's guaranteed, right?
Hmm.
You got the payoff 7%. So now you invest the same in the stock market, right? It's not guaranteed. It might give you 11%.
Hmm.
But if I am a risk taker and I get more than stock market and I could invest in other business or something like that, which can give much more than 7%, then I would probably not pay off. So it is really person to person dependent. But
Hmm.
psychologically, if you pay off the debt, you are peaceful, right? But you at least you know the math before doing it, right? You are leaving the opportunity on table, and then okay, I'm paying off because I don't care about all these opportunities. I want to pay off and be peaceful. That's your style. Go for it. But at least know what it means to you, right? So
Mhm.
all that is not bad as long as you know how to control it and manage it, right?
Hmm.
But if you don't have cash and you have debt, and if even if it is 2%, 1%, it makes sense to pay off as much as you can without having that interest expense on you, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
it's definitely, debatable. Every situation is different. Every circumstance is different, so we just need to plan accordingly.
Mhm.
It's not. It seems simple, but it's not that simple. It really brings out your personality and all that. So yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Well, I think we can move on to segment 4 now, which is credit scores and credit cards. Um, the specific myth with this segment is that credit cards will ruin your finances. I think we talked a little bit about starting off early with credit cards in our a little intro icebreaker, but I'd love to hear your
Mhm.
opinions on how do credit cards actually affect your finances, and is it a good thing to get started early, or just opinions there?
Maybe Nishi, you can start and then I'll join.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like growing up, I personally at least was afraid of credit cards because I always grew up hearing stories about how someone would get into credit card debt. So I always associated the idea of like the card being associated with financial problems, but it's not actually the card itself, right? It's the behaviors and the ideas that we attach to it. So if we become better at managing our own like spending and stuff, I think yeah, the card itself is just a tool.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you are a very conservative person, right?
Yeah.
And it helps, right, to manage the credit that way. To me, I'm a slightly different personality. So if I
Mhm.
have credit card, at least this is how I used to do it. I would just swipe it, because I don't feel the pain. We were talking about in the beginning of the episode. I don't feel the pain while swiping it, but I do feel the pain when I'm paying the bill, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so, so even if it is, it's the same thing, debit card and credit card, the behavior will be different. So Sri is also very conservative, right? She pays through cash or debit card or something like that. And again, it really depends on your style. But credit card can be useful, right?
Hmm.
Especially when you're trying to build your credit as a student.
Hmm.
And, it's important that you start early. Maybe like you, Sri, maybe you can have an add-on for your dad so that he's paying the bill. At least you're building the credit.
Right.
But I think you should have at least a few credit cards, few loans, so that you can build the credit history, and then lenders can see that you are a good payer. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, again, credit card, too many credit cards is not good. Mm, but if you can manage them well and you are good in paying off the credit card debt, I don't see a harm. So I have like close to $15,000 in credit card points. I'm not bragging it, but I'm just saying it accumulates, right?
Mhm.
Why would I leave
Okay.
the points,
Hmm.
right? If you're paying with cash and thing, if I have a discipline, you can accumulate the points. And then I have
Mhm.
other credit card which will give me like, miles and free tickets and
Hmm.
upgrades and all that. So it's again, if you're impulsive, like 20 years behind back, like I
Hmm.
was, I wouldn't recommend having credit cards, too many credit cards, but some credit cards will not harm you.
Hmm.
What is your perspective, say, before we move on to next segment or something?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's just about bandwidth, right? On how much can you actually
Yeah.
stretch yourself out on how, like, bills wise. Just getting started on like the student cards, a lot of companies are offering that. So getting started early. Um, I'm grateful for my dad for giving the add on card thing because I started out with a really good credit score in like the high sevens, like low 800s, which is really good. So that was already a leg up. And I think just building the habits early on will help me later down the road with like paying off bills and everything and not swiping more money than I have. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, credit is a funny thing,
Hmm.
right? It can help or it can hurt.
Right.
So just need to know.
Hmm. Okay. Our next segment is now going to be an actual like call to action on how to get out of debt. We've been talking about a lot about debt and all of that and what it means to people, but this is where we're going to call it out and how to actually mathematically get out of it. So, this specific myth is that the mathematically best way to pay off is always the best strategy. By using math, it's just the best way to get rid of it. I'd love to hear your opinion on it. She's your uncle.
Yeah. I think let's say you have three credit
Mm-hmm.
cards, right? Again, go through example, right? Three credit card, one with 3% interest, the next one is 5% interest, and the next one is 20% interest. Which one would you pay first?
Right.
The
The highest
20%.
one. Yeah.
The highest one, right? The logically, mathematically, that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. And that's fine, as long as you are able to understand the math and go accordingly. But let's say in the same scenario, you have a $1 million debt at
Mm-hmm.
20%, maybe $1,000 debt and 5%, and $500 debt at 3%. Which one would you pay off first?
I would
Just like,
probably do the small amounts first, just for my own
yeah,
personal
just to get
Exactly.
it
motivation. Yeah.
out of there. Yeah.
Exactly. So this not like mathematics may not be like working all the time because you know so it's psychological also, right? Once you pay off a little bit of debt, then you feel a little better. So there are two methods for debt management. One is a avalanche method, and the other is a snowball method. You can look it up in the internet, but one method will help you pay off debt quickly so that there is a snowball effect, and you can uh, knock off debt by debt instead of worrying about interest rates. And about interest rates, right? Higher interest rate, you can always negotiate or you can always
Mm-hmm.
refinance by talking to another reasonable lender, right? So, or don't think that that is the only option, right? So, but always keep paying at least minimum payments for higher interest and negotiate with the bank or talk to another company. There are a lot of resources in the net which can help you to negotiate
Mm-hmm.
and with a better rate, and you have a lot of rights as a consumer as
Mm-hmm.
well. So don't just keep paying interest because it's the easiest, right? It's so painful. Like we started this episode by debt being so emotional. Some people don't want to think
Mm-hmm.
about it because it's brain hurts, right? So they just pay off, easy to pay off. So, but it's just a little bit of pain, a little bit of initiative, and make sure you pay off as much as possible, and you can negotiate the higher interest
Mm-hmm.
rate to a lower interest rate or refinance. So it accumulates a lot of money without knowing, right? Imagine you don't have the debt. The credit card companies make it so easy for you to spend, right? And so easy for you to pay with the installment
Mm-hmm.
plans, right? We have so much credit card debt. If you can go to US Debt Clock, it's a website which is fascinating. So you can see that credit card section there, and people are trillions of dollars of debt in credit card.
Mm-hmm.
So just be cautious and do what is the right thing as a
Mm-hmm.
consumer.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Great answer. I mean, I think you covered it all. That's exactly what I was going to say too.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we can move on to the next myth, actually. There is another one for the same segment of getting out of debt. Um, I like this one. This is interesting to me because the myth is that you only need to cut expenses to get out of debt. Um, Initially, when I was sitting in some like financial planning conversations with like pre-retirees, and we were discussing how much income would they ideally want per month. um, Sometimes there were scenarios that we would run that they would fall short in what their ideal scenario was, and for some reason my mind would always jump to, okay, well, we should just lower our expectations, then we should just lower our number. But another something the advisor just said is, well, just start thinking about ways you can increase your income, then start picking up another side hustle or just shoot for that raise at work or that promotion. And that is honestly a better way to look at it, because why are we settling for what we want, right? At the end of the day, like, it's still about financial freedom and everything, even though you want to get out of this debt and this cycle of it. I think it's interesting that the concept of just increase your income is also just as important. So that's my opinion on it, at least. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there are a lot of jobs out there which can help you increase the
Hmm.
income, right? For example, you could do a Uber type of job, or you could be a
Yeah.
tutor. You could be a virtual tutor. It may not be as much as your main job, but at least something is
Hmm.
coming. And also, you are pursuing your hobbies or your talents, which are not necessarily linked to the main
Hmm.
job, right? And I don't know about you guys, passive
Hmm.
income, right? If you create assets which can generate passive income, that will add to your, cash flow,
Hmm.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? You could buy stocks, dividend stocks. You could create a small business where you don't need to be active in there, but you are kind of monitoring and making sure. It's not
Hmm.
easy. It's a risk is involved. There is some, it's not built for anybody, but there are ways you can grow your income.
Definitely.
So cutting expenses, there are only so much you
Hmm.
can do, right? How much expenses can you need a really good, place to stay, safe place to stay. You need the internet today. It's like without internet you can't live. I don't know about you guys. Without internet, I don't think I can live more than two
No.
days.
Yeah, I agree.
So, so all these things which we are used to, these are, I think, no longer luxuries, right? They're minimum
Right.
necessities. So,
Mhm.
but even if you cut them, there's only so much you can do with cutting
Hmm.
expenses, especially in US.
Yeah.
So I think we always have options to increase your income, and it's unlimited,
Hmm.
right? Increasing your income is unlimited. Cutting your expense is
Hmm.
limited. Have you thought
Right.
about it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So there's always time. You don't need to work. You don't need to work like 80 hours, 120 hours a week, but you could probably work a little more than your full-time job, which is 40 hours a
Hmm.
week,
Mhm.
and also pursue your hobbies, passions, and all that while you are earning.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's how I see it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
agree.
I would love to be a tutor, for example. I just don't have time, but I would love to be like
Hmm.
tutor, teaching math or something to high school kids. I would love
Yeah.
that. But
It's funny you say
it's
that. I just signed
time.
up again to be a tutor because last year, my first year of college, I used to wake up before class at like 7 a.m. and I'd make like $20 an hour, which was honestly like a solid deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was just
It's good.
online. You
Yeah.
would just like help these kids with a little bit. The lesson plan is
Mm.
already provided, and it was just easy
Yeah.
work, and I'd get paid pretty well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
easy ways to
If
make.
it's math,
Awesome.
if
Yeah.
it's math, I might hire you guys
Yeah.
myself, honestly.
Oh, I can't do math. I can do anything
Oh.
else. Yeah.
I love math.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah.
I wish. Up till high school I can do. After that it
Mhm.
gets a little iffy to teach people, right? But
Yeah.
definitely.
Pre-calc is
But
like
my high school is probably middle school now, so I don't know if I'll be any
Yeah.
good.
Kids are getting more and more advanced every day.
a
Yeah.
lot faster.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Mhm.
that was our getting out of debt segment. So now we have
Yep.
just a few left. Okay. This one specifically talks about what to do when, or what are the thoughts on when your debt exceeds your actual income, when your payments exceed your income. So I think this like ties very similar to the last one. The specific myth is
Right.
that people in debt just need more discipline. It's interesting. I don't know. This one.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
yeah.
discipline is definitely need to be there. There's
Right.
no doubt, right? But there's, like I said, there's only so much you can do with
Hmm.
discipline. You need to find other sources of income, other ways to eliminate that, and probably you don't want to get into the same situation,
Hmm.
right? So with all these things, I think trying to find more ways to make income is the best way to go, according to me.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree.
You see?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I definitely qualify that as a myth because I feel like not every debt problem starts off because someone was irresponsible. Sometimes the math just changes. Like someone gets divorced or they're laid off or there's a medical
Mhm.
emergency or something. Like someone can literally be doing every single thing right and still find themselves in
Or
situations.
student loans,
Mhm.
Right.
right?
Yeah. Student
Student loans,
loans.
you have to,
Yeah.
uh,
Those are, so
they
stressful.
keep creeping up,
Yeah.
and you have, that's not a bad debt, but
Hmm.
it's something you had to do to invest in
Right.
yourself. But
Yeah.
they will start accumulating.
Hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a surprise. Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. I agree with
Yeah.
that. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, like exactly what you said. Like sometimes layoffs can happen, medical bills. Inflation's a huge one too these days with
Hmm.
um,
Uh,
the price of the dollar is increasing too. So people just discipline is one thing, but also it's just being like vigilant on watching what's happening.
Hmm.
Okay, and there's also another myth for this one is that ignoring debt gives you time to figure things out. I think we've
Oh.
been talking about this a lot. When interest plays a role in it, it plays a huge toll on the entire situation because time is not a good thing in this situation, I would say. Time value of money is like a
Hmm.
huge concept, but I would say this is not a good thing.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I don't.
I would definitely, if I'm in, yeah, go ahead, Nishi,
Oh,
finish your thought.
sure.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just gonna say that I feel like most people don't avoid debt because they don't care. It's more so they
Right.
avoid it because they don't want to deal with it. But some way that I have found myself benefit or not benefiting, but like a way that helped me in the past was contacting lenders early, like your mortgage company or something. Often they'll have like things that they'll help you out with. If you lose your job, they'll like help you with. Um, Paying less of your mortgage each month instead of, the actual full amount. So yeah, there's other ways
Mhm.
to go around it.
Yeah. Sometimes even credit card companies might even give you a little bit of a cut. There was this one
Mhm.
case I was working on with this couple who had a bunch of credit card debt. I won't get too deep into it, but the advisor on the case, we ran a credit report on them first just to see if they had any excess credit cards opened on their name to see if they were racking up any extra debt without even knowing, first of all. And then, second of all, the first plan of action was can we see if we can reduce our interest rate in any way on these specific credit cards. So that's just
Oh.
what we did first. We like urged them to give the company a call, and then we're able to tackle the problem after that. So it's not specifically the problem of the debt. I think it's just people don't want to deal with it sometimes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I would buy little bit of that myth, right? I sometimes I need some
Yeah.
time to think and act,
Yeah.
maybe something going on personally and all that. But I would keep the time to be minimum, like like a
Mhm.
month,
Mm-hmm.
2 months. Get the act. Don't postpone the time forever, right? Sometimes in tricky situation, that postponing will help. But we can't take this as okay. This is me. This is my life. I'm carrying debt. I have to pay this no matter what.
Mhm.
That thinking is really
Mm-hmm.
really wrong,
Yeah.
and we should pay off as much debt as possible. But sometimes some timing
Mm-hmm.
helps.
Mhm.
Some time to pay off the debt really helps. Yeah.
Definitely. Um, Okay, and then we have two left. This one is about debt and freedom. So, this is a huge theme we've been talking about in the past. I guess this is our third episode. So, in the past three episodes, a lot. Myth number 12 is that the ultimate goal, is to have zero debt. Any thoughts on this one? It's interesting.
I feel like my ultimate
It's a
goal.
tricky one.
Yeah, go ahead, uncle.
Yeah. No, no, no. It's a tricky
Mm-hmm.
one. I would like the idea of zero debt,
Mhm.
right? I would really love the idea of having zero debt. But as greedy as I am, if I can do more than
Mm-hmm.
that, if I can do better than that,
Mhm.
why would I see? Think about it, right? Money is a source to building wealth also, right? So if I am getting a debt for 3% interest rate and I can do something more with 20% interest
Mm-hmm.
rate, why wouldn't I do that? If I know for sure that I'm getting the 20%, but if there is risk involved that I might lose my principal, I won't do that.
Mm-hmm.
right? It's all mathematics, actually. That's why mathematics is, so fascinating. But, you have to combine with practicality,
Mm-hmm.
right? 20% interest rate is so appealing, but what is the risk involved,
Mhm.
right? If you're able to take the risk, if you're able to manage the risk. So, for example, in real estate, yeah, it's very easy to get a cash flow of like 7%, 8%, 9% on the
Mm-hmm.
investment. But people often don't look the fact that sometimes if the tenant is, there is vacancy in your tenant, then you are not getting that. It's
Mm-hmm.
zero, right? Or negative sometimes because you are
Mm-hmm.
paying. So if you are you able to tolerate that ups and downs when you're
Right.
doing this, right?
Yeah.
So okay, yeah, that's my take. I hope I covered that.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Nishi, did
Okay,
you have something to
okay.
add?
Nishi, you were
Yeah.
going.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think I was just saying that my goal ultimately is more so financial freedom and like just
Mm-hmm.
peace of mind rather than the zero debt in itself. Yeah, I feel like I personally would rather just know that my payments are being made and that I'm like going to that
Mm-hmm.
end rather than being stressed about it, about
Mm-hmm.
getting zero debt.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important to, I guess I'm preaching the same thing again, but like having a planner and like making sure you're revisiting your plan every 6 months,
Mhm.
quarterly, or like annually, just to make sure everything's like doing exactly what it needs to be doing, I think is so important. So, because I think the ultimately the problem in the financial planning world is like people just don't know what's going on with their finances. There's just like a lack of clarity there. So I think it's always just like being vigilant again and like going through everything, which ultimately the goal is for financial freedom and peace of mind, right? As you mentioned. So
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah. I also think I also think this zero debt is very cultural thing
Hmm.
for NRS,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
don't want our dads or moms or grandfathers, they don't want you to carry
Hmm.
debt, right?
Mhm.
It's a very cultural thing.
Right.
But if you know what you're doing, it's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. And now our last but definitely not least myth is that rich people don't utilize debt in any way within their financial plan. Hmm.
Yeah. I think this is an easy one,
Yeah.
right? All rich people will find ways to, not pay
Mm-hmm.
taxes. Did you know that Elon Musk never pay taxes because he takes loans for his expenses?
I'm
Can you
not
believe
Yeah.
surprised.
that? So what he does is he gives his stock as credit to the bank and he takes a loan against that,
Mm.
right? And then he's just paying interest on the loan and that is not taxable. All your loan, whatever you're doing is not taxable,
Yeah. He's set to become
right?
a
Because you are
trillionaire today, I think.
he is, yeah, he's as of
Yeah.
today, he's like 1.1
Yeah. June
trillion,
12th. Everyone
right?
remember that.
And he's paying zero taxes by taking loan on the stock. So imagine, so every millionaire, billionaire, they take that. And if you see the big tech companies, right, today, we think they're making a lot of
Hmm.
money, they're billing. If you see that they're getting into debt right now.
Right.
You
Mhm.
know why? Because they have to build infrastructure nowadays for the AI
Hmm.
and all that. So they were cash flowing all the time. Now they are getting into debt,
Hmm.
and they don't mind paying interest because they still want to show the cash flow to the
Hmm.
investors and make sure they're profitable, but they need more capital,
Hmm.
right? So
Mhm.
they're getting into debt and doing these
Right.
things.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I think
Debt
people,
is a bad thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
many wealthy people are using it very strategically. Like, as we said, they're
Mhm.
letting the interest build a little bit, whether that be in the mortgage, and investing the money they could be putting towards that in the market or things like that. The difference is it's just helping them gain more assets instead of more debts and more liabilities. So it's just about diversifying your literal portfolio into how many vehicles can you have working for you. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Nish, you have any thoughts here?
Yeah, no, I feel like I was just gonna say that I feel like the rich kind of view debt as a way to help create future
Hmm.
value instead of just like
Well said.
funding
Yeah.
what they want for their current
Hmm.
needs and wants.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
I don't know.
also like,
Hmm.
go ahead.
I was gonna say that like I think debt is has such a bad stigma to it, but like you need it to start any venture, you need
Mhm.
it to start things. Like I bet these massive companies needed to take loans out, like Microsoft or Apple, they started in garages, like they probably didn't have anything, right? So I think the
Mhm.
stigma needs to kind of disappear. Obviously there's a difference between again good debt versus bad debt, but it's there's stigma around the concept too, which is interesting, as she said.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We discussed a lot of things this episode, right? I think
Hmm.
most importantly, what we are saying is awareness is the most
Hmm.
important thing here, right? Being aware of all these things.
Mhm.
That's why, again, going back to the theme of be your own financial advisor. If you're not aware of these things, you can never be financial advisor. And I think we did a good job of covering the first requirement of financial freedom before you get into investing and other things. The minimum thing is you take control of your debt, right? Take control of this thing and understand what is a good debt, what is a bad debt, and plan accordingly,
Hmm.
right? I think we discussed beautiful myths you created, Sri,
Hmm.
and
Thank you.
it's yeah, thank you, and it's a great way to talk about different topics as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a more fun way of busting the myths because these are not typically topics we will talk about in the financial community, right? So it's a fun, different way of prompting people to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, very fun episode.
Yeah, well, thank you both so much. Thank you to our viewers. We're really excited to chat with you guys again next week. Have a great rest of whatever you're up to, your day, your weekend, maybe. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.